Thank you for joining us this morning, Livio Cucuzza, Chief of Design at Sonus Faber, for this Soundstage Talks. Today we're going to be talking about Serafino Homage, a speaker that's been at Soundstage Australia for review for a few weeks. Unfortunately, just went back a week or so ago, much missed. Livio, welcome.
Thank you.
And I wanted to start off by asking you, when you were conceptualizing Serafino Homage, what were the key aspects that you wanted to tackle, and how much back and forth between yourself as an industrial designer and the acoustics team, how much of that was there in terms of the final decision, the final sign-off of Serafino?
Well, first of all, Serafino is part of the Homage family, which is a very important family of product for Sonus Faber. As you know, basically everything started with the Guarneri back in the day, and that was the first Homage speaker for Sonus Faber. So we took particularly care about the new Homage line. Serafino is the latest addition. It have only 2 generation of iteration of the same product. In the goal for Serafino of when we designed the first version was to offer a big percentage of the performance of the Amati with a smaller package and of course a more affordable price tag. With this new generation, in general terms, we had the ambition to stay coherent with the original idea about the Homage, so the luge shape, our natural sound, but to improve the performance of the speakers in terms of bass control, power handling, and soundstage reproduction. So we basically decided to keep the industrial design of the speaker, so the overall cabinets the same as the previous version, but we improved everything that is inside the speaker, basically. So the internal chambers, the reflex port, and we did some, let me say, simplification to the overall industrial design, making it more iconic and more sophisticated in a way.
Okay. Was there at all any sort of conflicts? I think, we've talked about this before, but was there any conflicts between you as industrial designer and the acoustics people in terms of what they wanted and what you wanted? And was that a conflict at any time, or was it always a synergistic sort of cooperation?
Yeah, the beauty of the Sonus Faber Design Lab, which in some way serves also the other brands of the group, is the fact that we built this area where I'm right now with the intent to make us a very tight cooperation between industrial designers, engineers, mechanical engineers, and acoustic engineers, plus the marketing department. And this was designed to work as a unique team because I believe, like some other entrepreneur or design heads, that if you cooperate from the beginning, designers and engineers, at the end you have a more fluid process and less risk to have a conflict between the two departments, because normally engineers are the ones that made the calculation, and at the end of the process they always have a sort of conflict with designers, because they might need to have some performances in place. So if all these discussion happen in the same moment at the beginning of the process, everything then will be fluid and smooth. So we didn't have any conflict, honestly. The process was very clear from the beginning, as I said, and I think the end result for many of our products is proving that this strategy of working all together is working.
Sure. I wanted to touch on something you mentioned earlier, because the improvements with Serafino, or the high ticket improvements, the drivers and so on. But there's obviously lots of other things that are improved in the background or within the enclosure. Can you tell me a little bit about some of those refinements between the previous version and Generation 2?
Yeah. So first of all, you have to consider that the R&D team from the previous generation to the new generation improved quite a lot, because at that time when we designed the first generation, the tradition one, we were very few engineers and designers. Now we have a more, let me say, structured team, and the R&D, the manager of the research, Mario, is actually a speaker designer. It's a driver designer. So he worked for all his life in designing professional transducers. This means that he has a strong, let me say, footprint on the drivers we are designing now. So the first big change from the original version, from the G1, is the transducer design. In this case, with the Serafino, we designed drivers from scratch, and they were designed, as I said, to improve the control and the power handling. So first of all, the Serafino, Amati, Guarneri, and also the Stradivari here, they have this new philosophy applied into the drivers, especially the bass drivers, to be more tight, more precise, more powerful. The second big improvement in the cabinet design, cabinet construction, was the tuning of the reflex port. So now we have a more centered tuning between the drivers and the cabinet. So the synergy between the drivers and the cabinet is even more tight again, because we had the possibility this time to design drivers to fit perfectly parameters of the cabinets. And the third important change in the cabinet construction was this idea of having the Intono technology in the mid-range chamber. This is basically it's a trap. It's a chamber. It's a chamber that is helping the mid-range to sound more flat, let me say, because it's tuned on the impedance peak of the driver. This way, you basically have a flat response on the impedance of the driver when it's loaded in that chamber, and you don't need any additional component in the crossover to compensate the resonance of the driver. This is clearly an interesting solution, because you are decreasing the number of passive crossover, passive components in the crossover, meaning that the signal is less impacted by the crossover design, and the driver is working mechanically in a better way. So this is why we are particularly happy about the result on the mid-range, on the new family, because it's really a work of engineering to make the result as good as possible. Then a big part of the job of the new Homage series was done in the crossover network, because from the actually the first was the Lumina 5th, and then everything from the Lumina 5th was using this technology of phase alignment. And when I talk phase alignment, I'm not talking about the electrical phase, but the acoustic phase, which is the only way to make a multi-driver system sounds like only one point source.
A more coherent sort of presentation.
More coherent. So the drivers are both time aligned and phase aligned. This means that the message from each driver is arriving to your ears in the exactly same time, and they have the same phase behavior. So they behave in time and space in the same way. This is able to give to the soundstage presentation that beautiful, firm soundstage that Serafino are able to do.
Sure. It also helps with imaging in terms of the focus of imaging.
Absolutely.
Having that acoustic correctness or cohesion.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I was curious that there's lots of exotic driver materials now on the market, beryllium, graphene, carbon fiber, and so on. But yet, in my opinion, there's also some magic in more traditional type materials like paper cones and soft iron sill tweeters and so on. Did you experiment much with different driver types, and what makes you use the driver materials that you're using in Serafino and indeed the whole Homage series?
Yeah, as you know, one of our pillars here in the design lab is the diversification. We believe that there is no simple recipe to obtain the final result. So this is the reason why we don't say, wood is the best, that there is nothing else. We use wood, aluminum, carbon fiber. We use all the materials available because each material can have its contribution to the final result. But in case of the drivers, we did a lot of experimentation. We presented some years ago. It was the 30th anniversary of the company. The Extrema Generation 2. That was a limited edition speaker. We did only 30 pairs. I remember Doug Schneider was here for the presentation of that speaker. In that case, we used a mix of carbon fiber sandwich membrane plus beryllium tweeter with diamonds. So we did that experimentation, and actually that speaker sounds amazing. But after that, we used that experience to make some comparison between the classic paper and silk and the composite new generation of material. And we all agree that at the end of the day, the better trade-off in terms of natural sound, richness of the sound, and better overall presentation is paper and silk. Those materials are still, in my opinion, personal opinion, the best to achieve a sound that is not, extreme in some way, because the target we have here in Sonus Faber is to do speakers that serves music and audiophile in any kind of taste of desire they have. We don't want to do the speaker that kind of speakers that goes well only with two recordings. We want to have ability to play everything you have in your library, and in that regards, we believe that there is nothing better than paper and silk. Which, by the way, they are not exactly the same paper and silk of 40 years ago.
Sure.
Because technology allowing us to have tighter tolerances, the membrane of the tweeter, the membrane of the drivers are more controlled, are more refined. So it's and also the mix of the material we use in the pulp of the membrane is not just simple paper. It's a little bit more complex, but still it's a mix of natural materials, because we, at the end of the day, we believe that natural materials deliver natural sound.
Sure. I found that in my experience as well. Natural materials, or paper cones and silk domes, just to sound more natural. It's I mean, things move on. Obviously,
it's intuitive. It's pretty. It's nothing difficult to imagine. It's a material that is coming from the nature, so it's.
Sure. Okay, so you've touched on this a little bit already, and obviously just now in terms of looking for a natural sound. But in your opinion, what were you actually aiming for in terms of sound? What did you want Serafino G2 to sound like?
Well, as I said, the intention of Sonus Faber is to do very versatile speakers. We don't want to be, the speakers made for classical music or jazz music or rock music only. We want to serve the music in the best way possible. To do that, you have to design the speaker to sound not only correct in the frequency response, but also, as we said, correct in the time domain, ensuring that every instrument is in its right place in the sound stage, for example. This because we want, again, that the speaker will represent what there is in the recording without extreme, without glorification of mid-range or glorification of high frequencies.
Sure.
So the real intent we have is to do speakers that are musical, but also really detailed and precise, because we believe that maybe in comparison one-to-one with a speaker that is more extreme, a customer can hear some details in one of the other speaker that he prefer. But at the end of the day, when you listen for many time to your speaker, you have to enjoy them every day. You have to have no fatigue. So we are designing speakers to be versatile and to be to don't be too much extreme.
Sure. I found that my listening impressions kind of correlate with what you just described. But one thing I found I don't think you mentioned yet, was the fact that for a speaker of its size, it actually sounds really, really big in terms of both dynamics and low end bass output. It sounds like a fairly much larger speaker than what it is. What do you attribute that sense of scale and bottom end power to? Is it the drivers? Is it the reflex? Is it both, or was it something that you were aiming for?
Yes, this is what we normally try to obtain. We normally say that a speaker for us is done when here in the listening room, no matter what the size of the speaker is, they need to fill the entire wall. When a speaker sounds so tiny or too big, there is something wrong in the phase alignment, for example, or in the crossover design, because maybe not all the frequencies are working in the same way in time and space.
Sure.
So the result, what you are describing is the result of many things, of course. Is as we said at the beginning, the drivers were completely redesigned, and the guy who is designing those drivers is coming from the professional transducers world, where drivers are normally very powerful. So this is something new for the let me say high-end industry, because we are applying protocols that normally are applying for speakers that are meant to be pretty heavy and powerful presentation. So first of all, the drivers. Second, the loading of the cabinets. They were tuned perfectly with the drivers, as I said. Third is this phase alignment. I underline this because it was the biggest discovery for me as an audiophile when we had the first iteration of the crossover built in that way, because actually what a correct alignment does is to make the speaker sound bigger. And probably you experienced that in your audiophile experience when you try to align a subwoofer with a pair of speakers. If you do an alignment between the subwoofer and the speakers, which is not correct in terms of phases and timing, you will always have some very strange effect. The woofer doesn't seem really, the bass doesn't seem very tight because there is, echoes.
And doesn't integrate properly.
When you have the perfect integration, and I mean when the tone is correct and the timing is correct, everything in 1 second disappear from the sound stage, and you have this huge and big presentation. And this is you can do that only with a very accurate design of the crossover network.
Sure. So this new designer that came from the pro audio field, how long has he been designing speakers for Sonus Faber?
So he joined us, I think it was 2020. Yeah, 19 or 20. I don't remember now, but it's 3 years basically.
So he's been involved across a number of products.
Yeah, he was involved in the Lumina series. Then he was involved in the design of Maxima, and then of course all the Homage series. So yeah, especially I would say in the Stradivari and Homage Amati, you can see those red dual drive bass drivers. Those are really his designs.
Okay. What are your next projects coming up for Sonus Faber in terms of design? What's in the near future?
Well, you will see in the next future quite intense product introduction, because we are closing our 40 years anniversary this year, and by the end of the year we will introduce other interesting projects. What we want to do is to introduce new projects and new product, both from the entry level position to the very top end, because Sonus Faber always been very broad in terms of offering, and we always want to do something very spectacular where we don't have compromise, and that project normally helps us to have new discoveries and innovation, and then trickle down immediately to a more affordable project. So you will see in the next future products from the top and from the entry point.
I suppose it might be close for a floor-standing duetto.
Well, that's an interesting question. We have a plan for our active speaker wireless category, which is including, of course, the all-in-one Omnia, the Duetto bookshelf, and we will have a new product. We planned a new product for beginning of 25, which will be interesting, I think, because it's something not completely new for Sonus Faber, but something that probably our customer are not completely expecting. So you will see.
Okay, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. And okay, thank you very much, Livio. It was a pleasure, and thanks again.
Thank you.